Is it time? Yeah, it's time. Welcome to the True Craft Podcast. I am your host, Chris Farmand, and I'm joined by co-host, Katy Noel. This time around, we are all about one thing: killer conversations with close friends about the state of craft. Oh, it's going to be good. I hope to open the box on fresh topics while honoring the path that got us here. Let's do it. Welcome to the True Craft Podcast. Today's episode, we have Greg Parker, founder, CEO. What do you call yourself? Official boss hole?
Ex officio boss hole.
Ex officio boss hole. Iron Horse Brewing, Ellensburg, Washington. Welcome, Greg.
Yeah. Two things. Iron Horse Brewery. Other thing, I had to look up ex officio. I was searching around for a title. And ex officio, in my interpretation, is one has a certain amount of esteem simply by the seat that they have, by the position that they hold. So it's, and I've gone through a lot of titles to get to this place, but now I realize whether I like it or not, people view me as a particular thing because of the position I have. So ex officio boss hole is how I landed. This is where I am now. That's my awareness of my position.
Okay. And the way people perceive you, do you like that perception, or do you want to change it?
I did want to change it for the longest time until I realized there is no changing it. So instead of trying to change it, embrace it and understand its impacts, which I'm still struggling with. Just the other day, co-owner and college buddy Ross said, "It doesn't matter, Greg. Every time you open your mouth, it has an influencing effect in a way that no one else has because of the seat that I hold, the position that I'm in. And it's hard to keep that. I always view myself as a peer, I think. Mm-hmm. Hey, we're all just working together here. We're just people, and we're collaborating, and every voice matters, and mine too. But it hits a little heavier, and I forget that to my own peril."
That's really interesting that you say that. I struggle with a lot of this. I don't know if it's a struggle, but I reflect on a lot of the same stuff you're talking about. And I'm reminded pretty often that, yes, our founders' words or C-suite words do have impact. They have long-lasting impact on existing members, on new members, on and there's this is a funny fact about me. If somebody refers to me as boss, I get the heebie-jeebies, dude. It's a dad issue thing. I'm working through it. I get the heebie-jeebies. I think I called my dad boss once, and he threw a stapler at me, if I remember correctly. I don't remember what it was, but impact, right? It had impact and long-lasting effect on me. So Katy, we're going to work that into the onboarding of new members. Is don't ever refer to Chris as boss. It's not taken lightly. It's not a joke. I've been mocked by interns in my past, right? So there's the lowest level trauma, which is dad trauma, and then I've had multiple iterations of this, right? So
compounding.
I feel the same way. I feel like I'm a peer. I feel like I just have more experience, but our words do have major impact in the way we deliver it, in the way that we frame it. It's leadership.
Just as a personal note, Chris, what am I to call you then?
Yeah, not boss. Not.
I've got a story, short story that might be informative here. Yeah. I was standing at my desk, which is in a hallway, more or less. And one of my coworkers passed, Christina, and she had two of another coworker's children following along with her. And one of the girls looks up and says, "Christina, is that your boss?" And she goes, "No, that's Greg."
Love
Perfect.
it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's, I mean, I think that brings in like a level of trust and a level of, you know, you want a flat organization, I assume, right?
Yeah. Which actually, yes, I did and do. Yet it's also informative. Like you said, you have more experience, and there are people here who have more experience. And this is sort of this dawning realization that flat isn't exactly what's desired or even feasible. I think that it's more about how do we exert influence? Is it through force, or is it through guidance? And is it collaborative, or is it mandates? And because of the focus on flat or autonomy or don't use force, I think I've taken away some of that that guiding, that leadership of those that are here with me who do have a lot more experience. And we're in this dawning phase where we're realizing it's almost like a tribe in a way. Like, we have elders. We've been here for a long time. We do have a great deal of information and wisdom. And we want those new people to come in because they have beginner's mind, and they'll see things in a way that we can't see it anymore because we're so conditioned to the space. So I'm going away from flat and I'm going toward tribal. Does that seem like an improvement?
It makes sense. It makes complete sense with what you're trying to accomplish. So Katy, back to your question. You can refer to me as, this is Chris.
Pleasure to meet you, Chris.
And if he ever tries to boss you, you just go, time out. You're just Chris. Easy now.
Just Chris, like the Barbie thing. He's just Ken.
Just Ken. All right, so let's get into this idea of self-management. You wanted to talk about it, and I want to hear your definition first before I come in. Was this topic brought up due to the recent changes that you have going on, or has this always been a passion of yours or a talking point? Like, give us a little history about self-management.
Yeah, what was it? 2014, maybe. I discovered a book called Reinventing Organizations, which anybody who wants to completely ruin their life in their business should read. And so it kind of started taking me down this path. There was steps before that, but this idea in this book, they describe human existence like an ecosystem. I don't need to instruct a frog what to do. He knows where to be and what his role is in this ecosystem. And humans are fully capable of discovering those same propensities, needs, desires, abilities. It's then my job or our job to create a set of conditions in which we all begin to understand what that particular role that we can play in any given ecosystem is. And yeah, it's really alive right now because there was a moment or a period of time that I just withdrew from the brewery. It was something like a midlife crisis, more like a midlife unraveling and discovery. And as I came back, I saw what we had, and it was definitely not self-management. And getting to that place is ultimately impossible. This is like a multi-generational project, if I believe myself, because so many of the structures and systems that we have in place culturally are just not about that. It is about top down, revere the master and take his orders and don't question too much. And also, it's a pyramid. There's only so many places at the top. So if you're vulnerable and honest, you might lose your chance to get to the top. But the challenge, or one of the many challenges, self-management ultimately is about self-awareness and rising levels of consciousness and deep understanding of one's impact on their community, their peers, their ecosystem that they're in. And there's also a lot of harms. You speak of daddy issues. There's a lot of harms we've all experienced that cause us to want to hide things or not even be aware of unhelpful patterns. And a workplace is an odd place to bring that to. maybe not odd, unusual. Because a lot of people view it as, I got my work-life separation of church and state. I don't need to be talking about feelings at work. I don't need to be exploring the harms that I've experienced in my life with my coworkers. And I guess I say, I don't believe that. I think we're leaving a massive part of human experience out of our lives, the potential. And work. I'm close to these people. I'm really close to them.
Right.
And I think that's ideal. So I definitely didn't answer your question, but also answered it.
Well, no, I think you answered it. You answered it well, but you're circling back to this whole tribe thing, right? You're really bought in or committed to this developing a tribe where you have people with more experience, you have curiosity, you have hopefully self-starters, you hopefully have independent thinkers, all working toward a similar success, a similar cause. And that self-management makes complete sense. How much are you investing in knowledge transfer from the elders, the more experienced, to the newer? Where do you place the importance on that? And are there any tips or tricks on what you're doing to transfer that knowledge?
That's great. A great thing for you to remind me of, where I need to spend more time. And it has been circling for me in my psyche, thinking about what are the ways to do it. We can do successor training, mentorship. And I don't know, partly because we're in such a state of chaos has a negative connotation. I actually love chaos, lighting fires all the time. But it is a little chaotic right now because we're restructuring how we tell our story. We're shying away from even the word marketing, and we're recreating how we tell that story. And so there's just so much of this disarray in a way, and reorganization, this things fall apart so they can be reformed. And we're in the reforming phase. So transfer of knowledge, I guess at this point, is really, hopefully organic, picking up more tools for collaboration and transparency. And actually, you said curiosity, and I love curiosity. And I think that's probably the best case scenario, is that we cultivate this mindset of curiosity where people are just wondering, hey, I see this project posted on Asana or on Glassfrog or whatever. I have no idea what that is. Would you tell me about it? And that's an incredible tool for transferring knowledge and informing action, better plans. And I don't know how many times I got to get kicked in the teeth. Like I have this great idea, puzzle it all together, and then go charging down the road, and someone goes, man, did you think about this? Wow, no, I didn't. And if I had, it would have changed so much. And so it's hard too, right? Because this is a dynamic market. It's changing rapidly. We need rapid action. And I back to mountain biking, I remember somebody said, sometimes you have to go slow to go fast. And I just remember this vision of this corner in my mind, and it was rooty and ugly, and the outside of it is clean. But if I went slow, I could stay on this particular line and get to where I needed to go actually faster because I was going slower. And maybe it's not a great metaphor, but there's that element of if we go slow and methodically and thoughtfully and choose our lines collectively, it feels slow and cumbersome, but it's actually much faster because we don't redo the work as much, or we learn something we needed to learn.
How do you pair that with your love of chaos?
Great. Yeah, I'm learning to do that. Again, my guide or mentor, I'm not sure what our relationship is. She's like, Greg, you're great with chaos, but you have to create some containers. And so that's my personal work right now in this role, is finding those containers. And my favorite container right now is Liberating Structures. I think .org might be their website. And they've got these meeting formats that you can use to discover different things, a plan, or what's noticed, or create new connections, or find out what has led to success. Anyways, they are structured but they're also very inclusive, which is hard. So often you get 7 people in a room and you're going to hear about somebody's cat, and there's going to be 6 other people going, "Oh, I'm not sitting in a meeting to hear about your cat." So that's a big structure for me, actually, is when we're gathering, I'm doing it intentionally, and it's going to be curated in a way that we know what we're looking for, and there's structure around how much talking each person gets to do. And you guys didn't structure this, so clearly I'm just talking ad nauseum, and there's no rules to go back to. But that's what I try to do, is create those rules or bring in those structures. So that's my newest pursuit.
I'm just going to put it out there, dude. Not many brewery owners are beating at your drum.
Yeah.
Not many brewery owners are beating at the same drum that you are. And what I mean by that is they are in the day-to-day. They are selling, they are brewing, they are hiring, what is your, I love where you're thinking, but I want to know what your day looks like. I want to know kind of what it looks like. And if another brewery owner wants to get out of the minutia and place themselves in this, sphere of thinking, which is where you are, how do they balance that?
Yeah. I think there's an automatic advantage and also a limit when the enterprise is smaller. We were small. We were 2 guys at one point. So I remember those days of I'm filling kegs, and then I'm delivering them, and then I'm invoicing them, and then I'm filing taxes and so on and so forth. So there's a limit, but there's also the advantage of there's 7 guys or 4 guys, and I don't have a ton of people. I think we have 21 full-time or something like that. So what's the next step? I guess if you're stuck in the minutia, I'm remembering some of the tools that had previous coaches guide me into, like there's the 4 box of high value, high priority, or enjoyable, high priority, non-enjoyable, high priority, low enjoyment, low priority, breaking it down into what is it that I'm doing right now? Mm-hmm. And is this actually necessary? And right now I still pay bills. I'm the guy, as you've said in one of your videos, take treasury back. Well, I never let it go. And I don't love paying bills, but I'm the right guy for that job. But when it's who's going to fill in this shift on the canning line, I just pause before I fall on that sword and go, is this really the best use of my time? And, something I did the other day, I sent out my closest coworkers that have certain commitments that felt important to me. I sent a message out saying, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I've been thinking about doing. Here's what I want to do more of. Would you please let me know, give me a thumbs up or a red X on the things that you think are a good use of my time and make you feel supported. And I think, long way of saying, maybe if you're just in the weeds and you don't know how to get out, gather your team and say, man, here are the things that I'm doing. Here are the things that I like doing. Here's the things that I want to do. Help me see what I don't see. What am I doing that makes no sense? Or what am I doing that really matters to you? And I think that's probably the magic, is truly understanding one's impact in their ecosystem and then adapting to that information. Also, it's never done. That work is never done. So if you don't like that work, go get a different job or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I've never thought about it that way, to gather the team and ask them what's impactful. Ask them what is the work that I'm doing that makes sense, that doesn't make sense, and get their feedback, get their buy-in on it. That's great. That's really good stuff.
Well, the jury's still out. I got 2 bits of feedback, and it's mostly confirmation, like, oh yes, the things that I like doing and that I'm looking forward, they like as well. 5 days from now, if we had this podcast, I might be like, wow, I'm not doing anything that I need for my crew, and I got a whole reimagining to do. But yeah.
How would you describe the current culture at Iron Horse?
Yeah, that's funny. That's on your list of questions that I appreciated getting, and I should have responded, let you know that I got them and had given them some thought rather than just surprising you here today.
NBD, no big deal.
That question was one that I didn't actually take the time to. I got to that and I was like, I don't know. What is the culture at IHB right now? A little chaotic, really connected. It's funny. There's a lot of uncertainty and sort of frustration with who's doing what and are we making progress. Yet when I talk to people, they're like, man, this feels so much better than it was. It feels good, while also feeling frustrating and chaotic. And I think there's a level of, I'm reluctant to use the word empowerment because it's been overused, but I think we're all starting to really tap into kind of how we can move and make things happen. And part of that is understanding that we've had this demonstration of when people move without involving others along the way, how shitty it feels being on the receiving end of that, just having something handed to you and go, okay, this is what you're doing now. And so we have that fresh, like, man, this is really frustrating in a way, but also thank God it's this way. So I think the culture is at times exasperated, inspired, and optimistic despite the massive headwinds. Yeah.
Could we sum it up as everyone feels like they got their backs? Like, I got your back, man. I got your back, woman.
Yeah, there definitely is an element of that. Yeah, we've built a fair amount of trust and support. But man, there's a lot of bad habits that I'm kind of a language stickler.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody said the other day, hey, can you not do that? Can we not do that? And immediately I was like, red flag. We weren't doing something. And this sounds like a concern disguised as a request. So what if we could pull that apart? What if I could actually stop with that person and go, you sound like you have a concern, but you've made it a request. What is your concern?
Yes.
And yeah, we conceal a lot as humans, and sometimes intentionally, sometimes subconsciously. And that's the work right there. It kind of excites me, is to stop in those moments, go, hang on a second, something just shifted. And it was this, you weren't fully there because you couched this statement and it's not really what you're trying to get at.
Royal we, buddy. The royal we is dangerous.
God, awful.
I got a spidey sense for the royal we as well. Boss and royal we. That's the takeaway of today's podcast is boss and royal we. I go ahead.
I would include you in that too. You know, when people are talking about an experience they had, you know, when you go to the store and someone's in the line and then you get frustrated and I just want to go, maybe that's true of me, but why don't you just own this experience so that I can learn something about you? This isn't us.
Right.
But that happens a lot.
Right. Yeah. 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 There's a lot of wordsmithing that we could continue to go down and it really, language ownership in disguise. You nailed it on the head, right? That could sink the culture very quickly. Sarcasm is another huge one for me. Sarcasm is really, really dangerous. If it gets out of hand, it can be done tongue in cheek, but it can be pretty dangerous. You know, as far as my experience with knowledge transfer and culture and stuff like that. I mean, I was doing everything for 8 years until my partner Tom came along and really owned the culture. And one of the first things he identified was, we got to get the stuff out of your brain, man.
Yeah.
We got to get it out of your brain, simply for the fact that we need to free you up to do what you enjoy, what you're good at, about all that kind of stuff. And it never dawned on me until we started framing it that way, to be like, okay. So then we started talking about, what are the steps to get it out of my brain?
Yeah.
And one practice that we still do today, 5 years later, since Tom joined, is office hours. Right. And so it used to be Chris's office hours that everyone would attend. And it would just be me speaking I could only last for 30 minutes, because it was like 30 minutes of like rapid fire questions. And over time now, Derek has office hours. Allie has office hours. Like all the tribe, the leaders of the tribe have office hours now.
Yeah.
I still have them, but dude, I get maybe 2 visitors a week, which is great. It's like social proof that this is working, right? This is working. And we don't come to office hours to bitch about pay or benefits. We come to office hours to ask technical questions. We can ask about pay and benefits like outside of that, and livelihood and concern, like, but that's not the intention of office hours. It's to really, and with the curiosity, right? New hires. If new hires don't show up to a certain number of office hours voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
Huge red flag. Huge red flag, because you learn so much from sitting in those office hours.
Am I a red flag, Chris?
No, Katie, you're not on the accounting team or tax team.
Okay, just double checking.
No. Yeah, no, it's the technical team, right? It's the technical team. It's the software connections. It's the debits, the credits, the vendor, like our main service that we offer, our main knowledge that we share with our customers. And so that was monumental for us. And we've just been kind of evolving from there. And I think office hours certainly could be started up at a brewery or
Sure.
You can call it something different, but it's just an opportunity to come ask technical questions, pick the brain, and get that knowledge transfer going. But
yeah, reminds me of there's a book, Getting Things Done. It's many people have heard of it. I feel like it could sum it up in, if you can do it in 2 minutes, do it. And if you can't, write it down. And it's the same thing, so like it's fractals. This is what you need to do for your people to have the information. It's also what I need to do to free my cognitive capacity up to focus, is get all these things out of my head, get all these to-dos out of my head and just get them on paper. And I was having a conversation with someone in the cellar yesterday, and she's describing, I got to do this, but before I do this, I got to do that, this. I was like, man, how can you get all this out of your brain? Because the frustration she was having was, it's so much to track and I feel overloaded, and anything gets bumped off track. Which, man, checklists, boy, there's probably the fundamental tool of success in anything that just has a sequence of events. And also something that makes me want to shoot myself, because the things I hear about checklists. Oh, that checklist, I already know it all. I'm like, well, what about that thing? Oh, I forgot about that. Or, well, that checklist isn't any good because there's stuff on it that doesn't even exist anymore. I'm like, why didn't we change the checklist? Yeah. So, yeah, I feel like these are, the office hours, I was making notes because I like that idea, because there are things that aren't checklistable that are bigger and will be informed by other people's probing.
Yeah, definitely.
What I find myself thinking about is you guys address these different ways to impact your team and your leadership and your awareness of the impact you have on the operation, is how scary easy it is for a brewery owner to just get on this hamster wheel of, this is just what I'm doing, so I'm doing it, just running circles for years without actually stepping back for an hour to think, where am I best going to be able to serve here?
Yeah.
I feel like we see that more than I wish we did. And it's so important to step back and be like, how can I add the most value to what I'm doing? And what do I need to hand off, even if it's hard? Like asking these big questions. If you don't carve time out for that, you're just going to find yourself doing the same old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't have time to do that. But as you point out, just imagine the impact if a brewery owner who was stuck on the hamster wheel committed to 1 hour a week.
Mm-hmm.
You really can't find 1 hour for the sole purpose of finding how do I create the greatest value. Man, I don't think I buy that.
Right.
But here's the other thing. My wife and I, she's probably my greatest guide, teacher, cohort, companion, so on and so forth. We were talking the other day, and we have our different skill sets, and mine is maybe trusting, but she was describing how in her organization, she's trying to teach people to do tasks that she's done. And she's like, man, they're creating so much extra work in this process. And I reminded her that it's kind of like parenting. It's the long game. It will cost you up front, but it will save you in the long run. So that there's that middle ground where it's like, oh shit, I'm trying to improve this, and I've made my life considerably harder. And yes, that it will occur. And yes, it is worth it.
Absolutely.
There's somebody out there that needed to hear that today.
Hopefully.
Yeah, no, look, I totally agree. I totally agree with everything you're saying. It's in the practice could be as simple as an hour a week to start, and writing down what do you most enjoy from the last 72 hours, and what do you think is the most impactful from the last 72 hours toward the business, and then from there sharing that with two of your most trusted confidants in the yeah. Director of sales, maybe your head of brewer, you have lead brewer, brewmaster, and then evolving it.
I do need to add, Katie, because I do like to be a wet blanket every once in a while. The other element to that is there will be a time when I hand over the reins and help to teach somebody to do something, and then they suck, and then they leave. And actually, all I've done is created more work. So whoever heard that was like, I'm inspired. I'm going to do this. Know that you will teach somebody to do something who will suck at it, and it will never be of any time save for you. Still do it because most of the time it works out.
I was going to say, would you still say it's worth the effort?
Yeah.
Somebody's here.
It's always, I mean, one doesn't know how it's going to turn out. And I think it's important. There's plenty to be learned in that process too. I've learned to see some of the signs of the people that are and are not going to work out by doing this over and over. It's a repetition. It's I'm noticing these smaller things. And so even if they don't want to do it, even if perfect outcome is the ideal, acknowledging my own learning is happening while I'm teaching. Teaching is learning. How many times do we have to hear that before we actually believe it?
And I'm just going to throw out the alternative to all this is
yes.
The hamster wheel. The alternative is the hamster wheel. So you can do it once, fail, do it twice, fail, and then never do it again, and you're on the hamster wheel. Or you can do it once, fail, do it again, and succeed. So,
oh man, you're reminding me of my probably favorite business book right now is the 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, and there's the way they describe a commitment is it's not what you say, it's what is. So if I want to know what I'm committed to, I have to look at the results. So are you working 60 hours a week? You're committed to that. That is your commitment. You're not committed to work-life balance. You're committed to working. Are you on the hamster wheel? Well, guess what? You're committed to it by your actions. And man, when I got a group of people that we read this book and explore with, and that one was people started distance from, like, I'm not sure I'm ready to go exploring what I'm committed to by sifting through my results, because there's some scary stuff in there. But it's powerful, man. If you want to take true responsibility for your life, take that mindset, and it's humbling.
Well, it's how you spend your time. You're like that is just a reflection of your commitments. You don't get to say you're committed to something but then not invest in it at all, because that doesn't match up.
Yeah. And there's something potent about actually writing it out, like, oh, I'm actually committed to being 12 pounds overweight and having a cigarette every couple of days or weeks, or I'm committed to eating bad food. Like, writing that out it's painful.
Yeah.
I'm committed to watching, 2 hours of Netflix every night or whatever it is.
Katie, come on now.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I actually am really good about it. I don't even have a Netflix account. I just leech off my family. So.
Oh, I see. So you're committed to leeching.
That's so
I'm
funny.
committed to leeching. Oh man.
Yeah. What commitments? Let's see. What's the commitment I'm not proud of? I'm committed to. I'm kind of committed to blaming my wife for my daughter's overscheduled life that ends up being a source of strife. And she was helping me see that commitment this morning. And now I'm having to break down the drama triangle and make the creator circle and see if I can break that commitment. You guys want to confess anything?
I'm trying to think.
I can't think of anything right now.
Okay, well, that's your homework then.
That's my homework.
That is our homework. Awesome. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell the listeners where they can learn more about Iron Horse. Website, social.
Yeah, ironhorsebrewery.com. I think all our handles are Iron Horse Brewery. We're on all the platforms. And they may have taken from this that I'm pretty jazzed about self-management, levels of consciousness, things of that nature. So if they are jazzed about that too, they could also just message me and say, let's talk. What are you reading? Because I'm into The Extended Mind, which is also another good book, but also a concept that is wonderful.
That's awesome.
How can they, I don't want you to divulge your email, but is there a form on the website they can get to you, or how can someone get to you?
I don't know. Is it too risky to divulge my email?
It's up to you. It's up to you if you want to.
I'm committed to not having spam in my inbox, so I mark as spam everything that comes in daily. So I'll go ahead. It's Greg at ironhorsebrewery.com. That's Greg with 2 G's, but 1 at the end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, buddy. I really appreciate your time today. This was I didn't know where the conversation was going to go, but this is exactly what we're looking for on the second go around of the True Craft podcast, because hearing how your brewery got started and hearing how many barrels you do is not what the craft industry needs today. It's this kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your insights.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I love talking about these things and answering interesting questions, and stay curious.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the True Craft podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast player. And if you are just dying to know what Chris and I look like, you can head over to YouTube for a video recording of the show. Links to cool information about our guests and other fun facts can be found in the show notes. This podcast is sponsored by Small Batch Standard, the premier financial agency built to serve the craft brewing industry. We help craft breweries grow profits through outsourced accounting, tax compliance, and growth consulting. Visit sbstandard.com today to learn more and request a discovery call.